very right away, or right now. We were in it.
Okay, there you go. We did it. Okay, well, they're going to start off with the Jace ban again. And if they ban the same three, I'd be a little bit scared. I mean, Ian, he's played Syndra before.
At least they can first pick Syndra, yeah. So it's a little bit more viable to do those 3 bans on the blue side, but there's Zach left. There's still Elise that maybe they won't be banning it. They can play it themselves. So.
The Thresh, you know, you open up Ever8 to get a pretty sick bot lane with their first 2 picks if you leave that up. And all eyes on MVP right now.
And so we were talking before the game as to why Zach would be banned, say if you're on blue side, say red side. So one of the interesting things about Zach is that, or a champion like him that is so often banned, is that a lot of times not only will junglers not have the champion practice because it's always banned in solo queue and during scrims, but because it doesn't really synergize very well with what the strategy that they would be doing. So for example, if Septed has really been the main carry in scrims for a while, you want him to shine. And if Zach isn't a champion that synergizes well with the champions that your main carry has been synergizing with, it doesn't make sense to pick the champion. So you ban it and make sure that the guy that you're going to be focusing on has an easier time in a composition that revolves around him in a way that has suited him during practice and will suit him better on stage.
It's a very good point, and we do see that banned out, plus the Elise for Ever8. Olaf was the second ban here for MVP. Down to the wire, and they ban out Thresh. So Syndra is still available, but they do take away that Thresh. Still the option for Syndra to be first picked here by MVP.
But Ever, what do they say? Do they say Syndra is just super strong and we don't even want to let you have it? Or do we risk it? Most likely it will go MVP's way and have an answer to it. We know that Septed can play Orianna. It's a bit of a tricky matchup into Syndra if you can get past the stage where she can just bop you. But they say no, this champion is just way too busted right now, so we are not going to let it slide. And Elise is up right now. Kennen, still one of the picks that was previously banned, and pretty much your S-tier top laner right now. Tons of pressure, and into the likes of Galio, the Blade can be quite obnoxious to deal with.
Yeah, we've seen some of these quote-unquote permabans squeak through at times. We saw Zach do quite well in the past. How will the Kennen do coming in here tonight? We do see Ever8 is hovering the Galio.
And the Galio is also a flex pick. We have seen it go into the mid lane. It obviously started out as a top laner. Hell, it can even be seen as a support. So maybe Comeback plans to mount his comeback as a support Galio. You just don't know these days with what these teams are trying out. It's a new patch still. There's still the time to decide what goes where and who's really great at who. But overall, Galio is just a very strong team fighting champion that if they just choose group, then they will have a very easy time winning these fights when you have Caitlyn as your biggest DPS with such long range and such a big bully in the, or a big tank in the front line protecting her from any oncoming damage or crowd control.
So we see Caitlyn picked up here, even with Varus and Ashe still available. Definitely 2 of the more popular picks, but with Thresh banned, perhaps they're feeling the Caitlyn pick here. What do you think about that?
Caitlyn, it just signifies death ball. You usually see Caitlyn be ran as a death ball pick right now. Even though her laning phase is quite strong, she does go even Doran shield at times because it's so powerful. But your counterpart will also go, whoa.
Is that Max?
That's a cute little penguin. Where can I get one of those?
You got to contact the MVP team, perhaps.
Well, you know what I will be doing next. But the bottom lane from MVP, we know what they're going to be contacting, and it's going to be that Xayah, that pick that has been so prominent in the previous matches. Usually you see her be really effective when comboed with Rakan. Are they married? I think they're married, right? Husband and wife. Is that...
Don't they argue a lot, though? Like, aren't they really unhappy?
So they are married.
That makes a lot of sense in that case. Definitely builds your point, but not exactly sure she's going to be cheating on Rakan with Bard tonight, regardless.
Marriage is just helping the establishment, man. You can't put a label on love. Somebody's birthday, it seems?
It's one of the coaches of Ever8. It's his birthday. So shout out to him.
We just seem to be on a birthday streak here. Every day that we cast seems to be somebody else's birthday.
Yeah. Well, we did see the Lee Sin picked up here from Alrong, so he gets one of his big picks. Still not sure if it's going to be Septed on the Galio or if he'll play something else.
But now we get to see what Septed can play. Previously, we've only seen him on Syndra and Orianna, and both looked quite good, but now they're both banned. So what else is in his champion pool? He doesn't really seem to me like the guy you'd want to put on Galio. That seems to me more like a Kuro style, somebody that you just want to be your front line, just tanking it up, being a bit of a soaker for your DPS.
A super soaker?
A super soaker. I couldn't afford that as a kid, man. I had to use water balloons.
Oh, well, those are actually more fun.
Oh, yeah. You leave a lot of bruises.
The super soakers, it's nice. It feels very satisfying when you're playing with it, when you're pulling it. You know what I'm saying, Crumbs? But when you throw the water balloon
yes,
in it,
it's satisfying when I pull it, Brendan.
But when you hit someone with the water balloon, that's actually the most satisfying of all the water sports.
Well, the thing is, Jesus, we used to.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Oh my God, that's not whatever you're into, man. But the Talia as well. So the kind of the S tier mid lane has been knocked out for Accepted. So what else is in his pool for it? And it's gonna be the Galio. So he is gonna be the Galio because actually, unless
could be the Galio support.
Oh, really? Yeah, it really could be.
I don't know. As you were saying, I don't really see Septed as a guy who would be super effective on the Galio. I'd like to see on something that can actually carry from the mid lane. He is the bus driver after all. Oh, okay, look at that. We got Ivern coming up here for Beyond.
Yeah, Ivern did see a bit of a surge in Korea at MSI. They were trying to pick it up just because the Western teams were really making it work, but in 7.10, he did receive some nerfs, really making him a bit of a niche pick. And this is going to be the first time that we get to really see this champion stand out. And so far, it offers a lot of utility. So it's a bit of a wonky composition from MVP, one that, speaking of wonky.
Oh, there you go.
By the way, I'd like to point out that earlier today, I got my first pentakill on Anivia in solo queue.
It's a sign.
20 games in, got my first pentakill. Thank you very much.
You saw it coming, Crumbs.
And it was in ranked.
Well,
yeah,
there you
so
go.
it is going to be the Galio support for comeback. So, wow.
Okay. Well, there you go. I mean, I haven't seen too much support Galio myself.
It's a pick that is easier to get by the lane because you're paired with a Caitlyn. So your AD carry makes it a little bit easier to deal with. If you're pairing it with a bit of a tougher laner, like say the Varus that has shorter range, it might be a tougher or more punishable lane. But when you have Caitlyn that can just wave clear so effectively and stay at a safer distance, and Galio makes a lot of sense. And you can see why their first rotation was those two picks. But it will be Septed on the Cassiopeia, and when you're dealing with Anivia as your pick, it's going to be really difficult for her to get into the range. Anivia is so good at keeping you at a distance. And in order to deal with Anivia, it's really going to come down to what can Malrank do to get behind this bird and kick it into the team, and how good is going to be Helper's Equalizer to really zone out or get yourself a nice little barbecue, because I am feeling some fried chicken today as I am very hungry with the ads you just saw.
Well, you got BBQ coming up next, so if you want to see some more fried chicken, perhaps watch them get fried by SKT. But either way, guys, we do have the lineups here. Lots of differences. I mean, we're going to see Bard again for Max. Not too crazy for Max, but also, of course, the Anivia. And then we do have the support Galio coming in here. Kennen also squeaking by. Squeaking boo. Squeaking by. And pig face. I don't even know where the
You're
boo
ready
came
to be
from.
a father, man.
But here we go, guys. These are the two lineups of both the teams. Very curious about that support Galio. See if they can make anything happen in that bottom lane, or if Bard is going to be the master of the bottom lane. Here we go, guys. Going into game number 2 of Ever8 versus MVP. There's a little bit of a delay there on the MVP cheer.
It's a dramatic pause, sort of like how Snape talks. The more time you take in between your words, the more impact it has in each one.
I see. Well,
I see you tried the technique right away.
Didn't really work out. It's okay.
I felt the impact. It was definitely more dramatic.
Well, how are you feeling about Anivia these days? You've been saying you've been playing a lot in gold.
Oh, I absolutely love. I can't believe you brought that up.
What's wrong with that?
That's where it placed me. All right, I went 8-2, and that's where it placed me. There was no MMR on my account. All right, I'm getting out of there. I have a like 80% win rate. All right, so
okay.
But
we believe you.
Let's talk about Anivia. So he's going with a Storm Raider Surge, and it is very easy to proc. You basically hit your stun, hit your E, and you're already flying away. But Anivia is very good at stalling out your game. So what they really lacked last game, which was that wave clear, they will have this time around. She just drops down her ultimate, and it's going to be very difficult for you to go for a siege. So just a tremendous amount of zone control here for MVP. And a quirky little interaction here that you might be missing out is going to be that Bard stun into the Anivia wall. So a very interesting combination that we might get to see happen will be happening, and now Matt saying no to Beyond here, going for a straight invade, but he will get scouted out. There is no pressure onto the mid lane, so this invade might be ill-advised. Ooh,
look at the timing.
Good save on Beyond here, but Malrang with red buff does have the advantage onto him, but Kennen is looking to collapse.
He's almost letting him hit with the Q. He's delaying his time. Malrang really coming on in here. Will be taking the Wolves, and Kennen's going to stay top. Doesn't want to get too far behind either. Just going to give that one up.
You don't really want to waste your time helping out the guy that's meant for utility, right? If it was a carry jungler being invaded, typically you'd think, all right, let's help him out a little bit more. But when you're dealing with an Ivern, he's meant to just be a shield and Q bot, so not worthwhile when you are the carry.
Ooh, stun hitting here.
Yeah, see that Storm Raider Surge proccing through, just so much damage onto her. Still one of the few champions that actually has a 1-to-1 ratio on her major damage spell if you hit the Q or if you proc the Frost on her ultimate.
We're going to see Beyond actually try to come in and invade himself, putting the brush, but already the snipe coming in here. That was a little bit close.
It wouldn't have stolen it, though. Remember that Ivern can't hit jungle creeps. He's a friend of the forest, and as such, refuses to harm his little buddies. He's literally your tree-hugging science teacher.
Looks like it, too. What with the red eyes and the profile.
I had a physics teacher like that. Let me tell you, it was very difficult to understand what actually made sense in the world.
He's teaching you his own view on the world.
Oh, yeah.
What it means.
Let me tell you, a lot of it... Actually, let's just not go there. Let's just get back to the game.
All right. ADD taking a lot of damage up top. Helper looking to get that combo
flash
here.
auto could be it. There it is.
And, I mean, ADD and Max up in the top lane, ADD himself, they've been, as I said before, the carries of MVP. We don't see them get solo killed very often, and Helper showing up big smile on his face as well.
Just not used to not being on Sejuani here at this point, thinking that perhaps the passive is going to help him out. Turns out he's Kennen, and he does go down, and this is just not the start you want to have when you're having somebody that's supposed to be a lane bully. And Kennen now is going to be in such a dangerous position. However, getting flash out of Helper and saving his own means that Beyond has an opportunity to go for a gank, but actually, even if they go for a gank, I don't even think Beyond and ADD have enough damage to take down Helper. Ivern is not your high guy. Maybe with Daisy and a red buff they have enough damage, but so far, this lane is definitely going to be going in the way of Helper, and not looking good for MVP very early on.
Yeah, bad start. This Ever8 team really coming together today. Really on their game. And it's only just one solo kill, but as you were saying, meant to be putting on the pressure. You can see that he was already taking a bit of damage, and he tries to get the combo off, but he eats so much damage from this Flame Spitter, and then does not respect the flash auto here.
It's just such an impeccable management of his fire. I keep forgetting the name of his not the energy on.
It's like
on
his
Rumble.
overdrive or something.
Yeah, his heat on the heat, right?
Yeah.
It's a management on heat. Understanding that he had one more Flame Spitter and Electro Harpoon in him before he procs the charge, hits that extra spell.
Yeah.
And now Malrang looking for ADD, but there is no. He still has flash, so this is most likely not going to work.
Yeah. I mean, ADD, I was talking about him. If he had just flashed before Helper flashed, then he would have been totally fine. Yeah, he would have been in a bad spot, but he wouldn't have given first blood to the Rumble. But not respecting that. This ward is going to see him. Let's see if they can land this. Sonic Wave coming on forward. Lots of damage here. No red buff. And there's actually the equalizer already. Level 6 is Helper. And Malrang is still on the chase. Here's Ivern to help out. A couple of spells will bring ADD to safety. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, lots of action here. Maha is forced to flash away.
And the real winner here for this is going to be Helper because of the denial onto this minion wave. ADD still not level 6, and so he's going to find himself really far behind into this lane. So it's a great move from Malrang, knowing that Kennen was up there, going over the wall and getting some chunk. And look at the vision from MVP. Almost strictly defensive. Double control on the bottom side, a control ward in the top lane, and they just want to stall out. Luckily, they do have Anivia to go for picks. Whoa!
Trying to land that stun. He's going to be a little bit wide, and that could be Max's life. The flash forward from Septid. There's a kill. Going 1v2. Septid showing up on the cast big time as well. Max getting a little bit too aggressive.
Brother Max there helping out. Helping out Septid. Goes for a sick flash over the Glacial Storm and picks up a kill and doesn't even die for it. However, he does trade Summoners, but that is very much worth it as he's already 13 CS up, and now Anivia is going to be in a really difficult situation. So we started off.
I mean, you were talking about that interaction, but if you miss, then there is no interaction.
Here. Such a sick play there from Septid.
If that Q hit too, that would have been a double kill going over to Ever8. More out of control.
But they can still stall out well. I have confidence in the Anivia stall. The pick is because there isn't too much crazy hard engage from Ever8. The engage really will come down to Malrang trying to get a pick from over a wall or really surprising his opponents. But in the meantime, MVP really need to reassess this early game and start to get some vision back, because those control wards that they previously had have just been erased. Now it's been replaced by one on the right side from Septid. And that control and that vision that allows Septid to just move freely into the river as he's going to do now, or at least to the bottom side and go Mia, puts so much pressure onto the map that you see that MVP's dual lane is just having to roam around, just sitting back. However, he did go back to get the red buff from Ian, and so, or from Beyond, and that's one of the perks that you still have from the Ivern pick, really helping out the lanes. Not sure what Helper's feeling here. Maybe a dive?
Does have his equalizer up again. Malrang, they're probably not going to expect
Malrang
this.
Is moving here.
They had no idea. Okay, the Harpoon is going to miss, but there is the equalizer. Can they actually follow up? There's the taunt. Is there enough damage? Yes, there will be enough. Comeback actually picks up the kill.
And that totally worked, and that's going to be a double. Whoa.
Okay, well, this isn't going to work out. Malrang with a bit of a mess up. In comes the... oh boy, here comes Septid actually in the bot lane. Make that a party. 5 members of Ever8 down in the bottom lane, able to pick up 2 kills eventually.
And nothing to answer for it. ADD had not done enough damage to the top side to get that turret. The teleport from Helper does answer back, so he doesn't even lose a whole lot of CS. So a great roam for him, and Ever will walk away with first brick onto this one, just going with a complete raffle stomp of MVP right now. Really not standing a chance. So we'll take another look at the replay here. The Harpoon, the second one connects, and even though the taunt does not it does connect right at the very end, actually. Just nicely, very well timed from Comeback, actually holds the taunt to the very end.
I don't want to see the least in replay, please. Can we a bit of a mess up. If you just ulted and then Q'd,
just goes
combo,
for the kick.
That would have been an easy
kill. Like, you know what? Get out of here.
I think he wanted to save it perhaps to do some fancy stuff onto Beyond later, but you got to secure your kills, man. Got to make sure you get 1 before you get 2.
That is some next level math, man. You gotta get 1 before.
Ooh. Look at this. He's going to be grounded too. Ian, not able to flash away finally, is not even going to need it, but definitely taking a big chunk of damage.
The Storm Raid is really helping him get out of that sticky situation there. Otherwise, he most likely would have had to either flash or drop egg and die to just how much single target damage Cassiopeia can deal.
Still suffering a bit in the mid lane, down about 16 CS once Anivia picks up this wave. Definitely not the easiest lane. against this Cass. Marang has showed his face mid about 2 or 3 times, hasn't had much of an impact, but still there.
Speaking of still there, the teleport from ADD. He can make a move, and even though he doesn't have enough damage to really take down anybody, if they combo it well, they would be able to get a pick somewhere, and that's what they have to look for here. They really just to be trying to get something back onto this map, because 2-manning helper between Ivern and Kennen, not going to cut it. 2-manning mid laner, unlikely. They really just need to have most likely a +2 advantage on whatever play they try to make, and only the teleport will really allow that, as Ivern isn't really the pick to flank anything and go around and surprise your opponents.
Let's see Septic go back. Looks like perhaps a Banshee's Veil on the way here. After that tier, definitely going to make it a bit easier to stop the combo of Anivia. Just make sure you can block the stun.
But take a look at the mini-map right here. Even though the laners are going back, there is a swap here from Ever. They're sending the dual lane to the top side to answer against Kennen, and Kennen doesn't have enough wave clear or even any stats to deal with. He's gone with magic resistance early on, and that's not going to do anything when you're dealing with Caitlyn. And Rumble, while he can wave clear decently if allowed, he does have Equalizer, so if it really comes down to it, he can stall out just so well, and this most likely will be just a +1 trade of turrets for Ever, and the Equalizer does come out, and the wave is nowhere to be seen, and so Ever really just having the tempo advantage onto this play.
It's a really good point, and I don't even think they're going to stop with the turret. I mean, come back, trying to make something happen. Balron coming in, but actually a duel taking a bit too much damage, and Beyond following up now is able to keep ADD safe
Max
for now.
Is on the way. They are sniffing this out, and so Malrang gets scouted. He can't get out very easily. There's Blast Cone. He's got his own vision. But in the end, no turret gets traded.
No, not quite yet. Zaya, Maha down in the bot lane is all alone up against Helper now. So not the easiest deal there. Max still hanging around the mid lane.
They're just waiting for an opportunity for somebody to slip up. If they rotate poorly, they're slowly, the dives will be imminent. So now they're looking to send the 2-man to the top side once again. Maybe they can push for this turret down. They have a 2-man advantage so far, so it can be quite likely, as Ivern is still out wolf, but he isn't scouted, so they have to play it safe. They aren't aware of what's going on, and with the lead that they have, they really don't need to be going that aggressively this early on.
See Malrang hitting a creep with the Sonic Wave. Not too much follow-up from the Lee Sin in this game so far. Okay, finally he lands one, has hit Beyond, but as you were saying, they're really not going overly aggressive with this one.
They don't have to, right? When you're in this position, they are getting chunk damage on the turret every single time, so it'll just be a matter of time before they get the turret, and in the meantime, MVP will get nothing in return, so it's still a worthwhile trade for Ever to just continuously chip away at this turret, just because the response from MVP is just so poor, as they're simply trying to defend turrets as opposed to looking for a position to trade.
Well, there's zero vision over here at the Rift Herald for MVP. Ever8 has total control of this. It seems like MVP does know about this, and we'll see if they want to make a move. Brush is going to come down here from Ivern.
There is no pressure onto mid lane just yet, and the Herald did get scouted, but it will actually leash out. So it will return to its home base. She will return to her home base.
Yeah.
I think we've decided to coin Herald as Heraldine now, because she is
Heraldine?
Heraldine. She is female.
What? Who decided to coin it Heraldine?
Max and I, Atlas.
Oh, okay. I see.
Would you join?
I wasn't included in this conversation.
So you
Heraldine.
What else would you call her if it's a she?
I think Harold is a fine female name. What's wrong with Harold?
Really? It sounds so much like a herald.
That's what it is.
A man's name.
This is the first female called Harold.
So you...
I mean, it is the Rift
like a boy
Herald,
named
right?
Susan. Like a boy named Susan.
It's not called the Rift Heraldine. It's the Rift Herald. There's a reason we call it Herald.
I think Heraldine has a lot of attitude and interesting features to her. But Now they're sending over Anivia to try to defend this turret. So they're really just trying to defend this as much as possible. Oh, that's a two-man.
Oh, this could be huge, especially with the Anivia wall. No wall, but the double flash. And the stun will not connect from Anivia. So they do defend it very well, getting double flash out of the bot lane of Ever8.
Their plan is simply stall out and let's see if we can hit late game and maybe have a chance of winning these fights. But I much prefer the play of Ever being quite proactive here, even having the Rumble stay in the bottom lane, understanding that he's got teleport. There are wards in the blue buff for him to TP to in case a fight is to break out. So they're definitely in a position to react to whatever MVP keeps throwing at them. And now that Bard ultimate is down, they are in a safer position. They will start the Herald, and no answer from MVP.
This time we do have 3 members coming over here. Septid's very nearby, and even Helper is making his way up. Oh, that's going to be a huge kill onto Max here. Means no chance at the Rift Herald. Max is getting totally caught out there by Septid. Mid tower even is getting pretty low. Helper forced to flash the wall. It was very threatening, but even so, lots of objectives will be picked up here by Ever8 in the near future.
And now they're going to be able to get that tier 1 top now that Max is dead. They're looking for that tier 2 in the mid lane, and Herald's going to be able to just headbutt this one straight to death. And it's going to be a good use of it just because taking down that first mid turret against Anivia is really important. So even though you normally would want a turret or at least a turret and some chunking on the second one, the fact that they get it against Anivia out of all picks makes this Herald very.
It brings everybody's attention to mid lane, trying to save it. Meanwhile, Duel is able to get the top turret, so that's double turret. Now, they might even be able to find ADD here. It doesn't look like there's quite enough damage. Stun coming out onto Malrong, but will retreat safely. So lots of objectives picked up.
These picks just don't have enough damage. When the magic resistance comes out, then they really just rely on Maha to start dealing some DPS, but he's just been stuck on bot lane duty, trying to clear minions. He's moving around, and without MVP being in a position to engage very well, they don't have the ability to pick anybody off. And so all they can do is really just stall out and try to get some objective trades. And I think he goes for a flash ultimate. Yep, there it is.
Well, Septid showing that he's got some spunk on other champions as well. Not just the Syndra Orianna. We're seeing his Cassiopeia come up big tonight. I mean, he's already 2-0-1. He's out CSing Ian in the mid lane by about 50. Having a fun time.
Showing that he's not just using champions that are strong, that he is in fact a very strong mid laner. And Cassiopeia is not the most popular pick right now. She had actually fallen out of the meta until Faker really brought her back at MSI, and ever since then it seems like only the really most elite players have been trying to pick her back up. And so the fact that Septid is choosing this champion to go for, really hopeful for this player's future. However, right now the adaptive helm does make Cassiopeia a little bit weaker against tanks, but there are no tanks in this game, so he doesn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, or also the Dorn Shield. I suppose you can get that passive stacking every time the poison ticks. So having a pretty good time against that if you decide to go for something like a Zed or Kassadin. Here's Ian down in bot. Septid is waiting. Nearby in the wings. Malrong going to pick up this free Ocean Drake. Looks like probably an Ocean Drake is the follow-up too. So not the most exciting Drakes we've ever seen in this series.
Well, the Dragons here are just going to be serving as an Elder buff later on in the game, but from the looks of it, Ever's playing at a pace that they most likely will not even need to make the decision between Elder and Baron.
Yeah, they're getting pretty far ahead at this point. Already 5,000 gold is the lead. Bit of a double team down here onto Septid as Max is down here with Ian. Not even really sure if that's necessary, especially with the wave clear of Ian on this Anivia.
And that right there, that trade reasons why Anivia is not such a hot pick right now. Because Banshee's Veil did get changed to an AP item, it makes it really difficult for Anivia to proc that Veil. You most likely have to start with your E right from the get-go, and it puts you in a position of danger where you have to just get that only proccing the Banshees off without dealing any damage, and then you can go for your stun, and then you have to wait for another cooldown of your main DPS ability. And so it's a great itemization here from Septon, knowing how he can take advantage of the new patch in order to maximize his chances into this new oddball pick from Ian.
Yeah, so Ever8 has slowed down a bit. They haven't been able to pick up any other turrets. There hasn't been any big push towards any one lane. They've just been keeping Rumble up top, Cassiopeia down bot. Even without the TP, it forces Ian to stay down there to go 1v1. And we do have this Baron up right now. The Cassiopeia with the blue buff could definitely make quick work of that. She's going to take that right now.
Yeah, but this is the similar lull that we saw from Ever in game 1, where in the mid game their vision wasn't exceptionally deep, and so they really slowed down a little bit with the advantage that they had in order to close out the game as promptly as possible. However, a win is a win, and here they understand that they are against Anivia, so it is a little bit tougher to deal with. But I like what they're doing, where they're keeping Anivia having to go to the bottom lane to match Cassiopeia, and they need to just be trying to pressure wherever she is, because trying to wave clear into her as the game goes on, not only does her wave clear increase because her AP and mana allow her to stay even longer, but the width of the wall make a siege that much more difficult and dangerous if you don't have any flashes.
Seems like we do have a bit of a switcheroo here, as ADD does go into the bot lane and Ian takes his place up into top. Definitely makes sure that they can push out the top if there is any move towards Baron.
And the top laners are matching, but I like the move from Ever, as you say. They're looking towards the Baron right now, so they are going to start it right away. It's going to go down really quickly as there is blue buff, but the blue trinket is on Xayah and has yet to be used. Halfway there, it looks like Ever will be able to secure this Baron. A nice little sneak from them, doing the due diligences with the control wards, and oh, the Baron.
Yeah, they do see it. They do spot it. Malrang is exceptionally low right now, down to about 20% health. And it looks like MVP might be able to take this one, or at least take control of the Baron pit. And they do force Ever8 to stop the Baron. So nice spot there. Nice quick response, too, by MVP.
Great Tempered Fate there, really just forcing Ever to disengage from that. But now they're not in the greatest position if they can stop Anivia from getting to the wave, but they will not push it. Ball goes out on the comeback, but nothing comes out of it. It really seems like MVP's game plan is just stall and then gamble the dice at 50 minutes, which is probably the worst game plan you could ever hope for.
Well, I mean, when you do have this Anivia, what else are you really going to do?
As you always want to be proactive, and it just seems like the plan that relies on the opponent to make a mistake. They really don't seem to be making any moves of their own. And while the moves aren't really there, they used the Tempered Fate one time onto the dual lane and got 2 flashes for it. And you'd want to see that happen again. But the issue is that they just don't have enough damage just yet. In Xayah's build, the damage is going to be nowhere to be found for a long time because she's going with Essence Reaver, and we've seen sometimes people try it. Affinity Edge early on, and that can deal more damage. The build, I think people are still trying to experiment with it. It still hasn't been fully defined, but she will need a lot more before she's able to actually melt down through the already amounting armor that's coming out of Ever.
As time goes on as well, not just the Anivia gets farmed, but also this very annoying Kennen that MVP was able to first pick in the pick ban phase. Eventually, unless Helper is able to just get straight on into the Kennen and kind of one-combo him in a way, push him back, that's going to be really annoying poke down there. I suppose the Rumble will have a bit of trouble with that a little bit later on.
You're right. The Kennen will have pressure onto the Rumble as the game progresses. His ability to just lifesteal, and now he has a wit sense, so he's going to be a little bit tankier, and maybe that's the key for them, to just try to get some chunking onto the turret wherever Kennen is. But you saw just how quickly Helper can clear these minions out, so it will take quite some time, considering that Kennen is not in the strongest position right now, and he is going for that Frozen Mallet. So I feel like until he has Mallet and then up later the Ruined King would be the time that he can really start putting pressure onto the turrets, because he can afford to take some damage from Helper in return, lifesteal back on the wave, and then just go back to hitting the turret. Similar to how Fiora plays out when she has the Bloodthirster and that Hydra.
Oh, look at this. We're going to see a play, and immediately Galio will follow up. That is one dead egg. Nice play once again by Septed. And that's huge. Taking away the Anivia. Goodbye wave clear.
What an angle on that petrifying gaze there. Just so unexpected, and Ian had no idea that was coming. And this is definitely going to be the Baron, and MVP acknowledges it and will try to trade that Dragon in response for it, but a great move from Septed. Man, this guy is on fire. Where did this guy come from? Just doing so much work here in the LCK.
Well, I wouldn't say they're putting all, but this guy is like picking up the basket by himself. He's like, these are my eggs. I'm taking this team on a ride right now.
There is only one egg, and it just got eaten by the snake.
Exactly. Cassiopeia for Septed, showing up big time. And as I said before, you take out the Anivia, goodbye wave clear. You're going to lose your top tier 2. You're going to lose your mid tier 2 with the Baron pushing minions. Huge push here by Ever8.
And then trying to answer a tier 2 of his own, but he might not have enough time with the wave, as Helper has already based to try to defend this tower. And that's going to be a matter of how do you crack the base against Anivia? Well, with the Baron, they're most likely going to have to go for a 1-3-1. A dive is almost always a risky play, even though they are 9,000 gold. If this was a scrim, you'd say, try it. Let's make sure that we can get it down so that when the time comes where we have to answer this, we go for it. But the yank.
What? Well, I mean, it's not 90 degrees.
Well,
you know what I mean? It's like 87 degrees.
He's the mid laner. He knows what he's doing, so he gets it. So, yeah, good for him.
Good try by Ian to not get stunned by that, but a little bit unfortunate. Here comes Septed, though, on the chipper on the right side. Is going to be forced to zone this pretty early. Maha does go down, though, and uh-oh. Couple of members here caught on the bottom side. Going to be knocked up by Galio. That is a 2-for-0. Another nice pick by Ever8.
Oh, he does have flash kick, but there is no follow-up. I like how he's in the base right now. Make sure that Anivia does not get to the wave, and this will be the mid inhibitor going down for Ever8. So a nice play from them, knowing what to go for. They took advantage of the crypt that dual hit onto Maha right away and just did not forgive ever since.
Yeah. Like what you were saying about zoning out the Anivia, you can see that Comeback and Malrong on big-time duty of zoning. There's the flash kick. Max going to disappear. Septed.
Oh, the stun hits.
He acted so vulnerable, and he gets 2 more kills after it. Nice play. They're going to push in, potentially for the win now.
Taking notes out of Sun Tzu, feigning weakness when actually strong, and now this is going to be a push for the game. They have super minions coming in from the mid lane, as well as Baron empowered, and yep, that's going to be it.
Oh, Malrong. Oh, he lived. Okay, there you go. Beyond, he's on the chase. He wants that kill. He's going to be about as useless as he has been all series. And there you go, a 2-0 right here for Ever8 with 2 superstar performances by Septed.
Practically perfect games, only a turret and a dragon. Just really impressive stuff from Ever8, and I'm really excited for this team. They came out of nowhere, a team that we saw in the Challenger series. I was like, okay, maybe they'll be the bottom place LCK team. That's what we were thinking when we came in. But game 1 that we saw last week was, wow, okay, maybe there's something to reckon with. And now this showing against MVP, impressive stuff.
And more woes for MVP. I mean, they didn't have the easiest time against Jin Air, and coming in here against Ever8, another quote-unquote bottom-tier team, they get 0-2'd. And, man, EDD not looking too happy. Wasn't too strong on the cannon, had a rough time getting solo killed very early on in that game.
The only bottom that Ever is in now is in the bottom of my heart, because I am in love with that play that they've had so far. And Septed, wow, he has been playing so well. 3 champions already, all 3 with incredible prowess. We don't even know how deep this guy's champion pool can go at this point.
Yeah, I can't wait to see more of this guy's play, especially as they run into some of the stronger teams as well. They've already put up a good fight against Afrika. They take out MVP. What's next? Who is next, actually? Let me take a look at your sheet here for their next matches. They're going up against Jin Air next on Wednesday, and then on Saturday they'll face off against SKT. So that'll be their big.
Looking at Ever8's hit list at this point.
Yeah. The SKT game is going to be very interesting. See what they can do.
Well, SKT is a team that is honestly the only team in the world that they can lose pretty much an infinite amount of games, and you always cut them slack. And this is that first blood that Helper got. Just no respect for the flash-empowered auto attack from Helper. Dies right away, and just the worst start you want to have for Ken.
This was a bit embarrassing for our support mid duo, Max, trying to get that flash stun in with the wall. Doesn't work out. Accepted with a very aggressive but nice play, takes out Max.
And this is a great roll from Helper here. Coming down from the lane, he did have teleport, and the taunt timing there from comeback, allowing the Xayah to stay in the red carpet for as long as possible. Get out of here. You know what? Get out.
Get out of here, okay. Well, they finally do get that kill onto Max, even though it took a little bit of time.
It's just accepted highlight reel at this point.
This guy was totally on fire. I mean, he, again, a superstar of performance in the mid lane, twice in a row.
3 times now.
Yeah, see, that's like 87 degrees, so I guess that's hitting the front.
Get your protractors out. I didn't even remember that word for so long. Here's a teleport coming out from Helper, hits the equalizer onto Xayah, and the flame spitter with the Zhonya's, and here's another flash taunt.
Sick play. Comeback, by the way, very nice performance from him too. Great thresh hooks in the first game, and good Galio support play again in game 2.
Yeah, they really weren't tested by MVP, kind of dropping the ball this match, but Ever just taking full advantage of the situation and really just punishing MVP like we haven't seen in a while.
Yep, so Ever8 able to bibbity-bop MVP 2-0 here on this Sunday. They did not say their prayers today. Take a look at the Anivia damage.
Take a look at everyone's damage. 2,000 on Ivern. Well, not a whole lot, but 16.5 out of Septed on this one. I think if my math, you know what, I'm not going to do the math. It's actually, the entire team of MVP did do more damage than Septed altogether. I just calculated that, so.
Nice. Good job. So, Cass almost able to do the entire team's damage, but not quite. We're going to get an interview now. Let's head over to that right now.
Hi, this is your translator, Jisun, and we have the head coach Park for the interview. Hold on a moment, please.
And the MVP is Septed.
So this is the head coach of Winners, Park. So you always said that you want to be a team like an MVP. So how is it like to win? You want it to be like? So first, yeah, we all came up from the Challengers Korea. So he really wanted to be a team like an MVP. So it's really like extremely happy to win a team like MVP since it was their role model. And second question, the comeback player, jungler, started as a supporter player. So what was the plan on your entry? So yeah, they hired comeback as jungler, but he also wanted to be play as supporter for today. So. And also they needed him as a supporter for today's match, so yeah, that's how he started as a supporter. And today's match, yeah, he's quite quiet, satisfied overall, and they're trying to get better and better. And today, Septed and Rang really played well, so did you really expect them to perform this well, even in the early season? Yeah, Malang was really a bus driver since the Challengers. And also he wanted people to like focus on Septid, and he's really happy that Septid show his performance really well. Any message for Septid? He always talks sweet to his players, so I think there are a lot of hard things to overcome in this season. So let's all try hard and go to the like top ranks. And today is your Alvingo's birthday, so any birthday wishes? Thank you for working so hard for the team. And I think today's victory is the nice present for him. So upcoming matches versus Junior, so how are you gonna prepare for it? We met him at the promotion and we kind of lost without fighting really well. So I think we really have to try a lot, but we want to show better performance and show our best plays for the fans. And this is the end of the interview. Thank you.
Welcome back, guys. I did just have the interview with our coach from Ever8, seemingly having good words about his team and what they were able to pull off here against MVP tonight with that 2-0.
It's like easy. That's
Easy peasy. No big DZ. Let's go take a look at the standings here.
1-1, tied there with the Junior Green Wings, which they will be the team that they face next. And a team that I did not think I would be too hyped about is now the one that is really making strides, especially when they start facing up against that top-tier teams. After Junior, they will be facing up against SK Telecom, and Septid versus Faker sounds like an incredibly hype matchup.
Sounds very, very hype, but not just that. Septid versus BDD, BDD versus Faker. Both Longju and Ever8 coming in here with big, as they call them, guys, bus drivers in the mid lane, able to bring their team together, gather all the kids up on the bus and bring them to their destination. So doing that very well. Septid played a couple of really fantastic games tonight.
I think he's been having just such a consistent week so far. Week 1 was great. Week 2 so far has been sick, and the entire team has really been stepping up. And I'm really happy to see Hachani switch his name to Comeback and actually make a comeback and make his mark on the team that was relatively new, relatively unknown with these young players. And when you put veterans with young talent, it's always such a satisfying thing to see. And when you just trust somebody that has been doing it for a while, when somebody that has actually even won an LCK title, I think that it really just carries that confidence. And when teams are capable of trusting each other without blinking, when you do the falls exercise on you, just believe that I know what I'm doing, and you see results like what we had today.
I mean, you see the same thing from one of our other really hyped teams right now, Longju, where you got Prey Gorilla in the bot lane, and then a bunch of other rookies or like newer, younger players that are coming in here, and they're not necessarily new to the big stage, but some of them are, and they're really performing well. That young blood and that veteran talent coming together. So definitely a couple of cool teams doing quite well so far. Guys, don't go anywhere. We are going to have BBQ up against SKT up next. And BBQ, they've been having a bit of trouble so far. You know, not really. They've been doing okay. But also SKT a bit of woes, losing that first game against Samsung.
Well, for SKT, it's understandable. Coming off MSI, really a team that plays pretty much every tournament all the time. And the expectations for the team have always been as high as ever. But the expectations, we also cut them slack because they have the most immaculate track record ever.
So guys, we're going to be right back with that next series at about 8 o'clock.